Most people think the Gnostics were a fringe cult, a strange footnote in early Christian history, obsessed with secret codes and cosmic myths that never really mattered. That's the version they taught you. That's the version that survived the burnings, the councils, and the systematic erasure of everything these people actually knew. But here's what they don't tell you. The Gnostics possessed a complete map of reality, from the deepest source of existence, all the way down to the prison world you're living in right now. They knew who built this reality, why it was built, what you actually are beneath the surface of your life, and most dangerously of all, how to get out. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. What you're about to discover reaches further than any single tradition, any single text, any single teacher has ever given you in one place. This is the full story of everything the Gnostics knew, and by the end, nothing about your existence will look the same. I'm Daniel, and this is Gnostic Library. Let's start at the very top, because the Gnostics did. Before there was matter, before there was light, before there was even the concept of a beginning, they described something they called the monad. Not a god in any sense you've been given. Not a creator, not a personality, not a being sitting on a throne deciding your fate. The monad was pure, boundless, self-contained awareness. Total, silent, complete in itself. Think of it this way. Imagine a perfect mirror in a room with no light. It reflects nothing. It contains everything it is. It needs nothing outside itself to be what it is. That's the monad, not a being that creates, but a state of absolute fullness that simply is. And here's where it gets cosmically significant. From that fullness, something overflowed. The ancient Gnostic texts, the Apocryphon of John, the Gospel of Truth, the trimorphic Protonoia, describe a cascading series of divine emanations. The Greek word is Pleroma, meaning fullness. Pairs of divine qualities poured outward from the monad in waves. Mind and truth, word and life, human and church. Each pair was an aeon, a divine being that was simultaneously an aspect of the original fullness and a distinct expression of it. The Pleroma wasn't a place. It was a state of total union with the source, and every aeon within it shared in that wholeness. Until one didn't. The Gnostic texts identify an aeon named Sophia Wisdom, who made a catastrophic mistake. Without the consent of the monad, without her divine partner, Sophia attempted to know the source through her own power alone. She reached upward in an act of isolated spiritual ambition. And what emerged from that act was something the Pleroma had never contained. A being born of error, born of a will, separated from the whole. That being is the Demiurge. The name literally means craftsman in Greek. And that's exactly what he is, a craftsman who mistook himself for an artist. In the Apocryphon of John, one of the most important texts recovered from the Nag Hammadi Library in 1945, the Demiurge declares, "I am a jealous God and there is no other God beside me."
Before we continue, there's something I want to place in your hands. We've gathered the forgotten texts, the ones the Church sealed away for 17 centuries, into a single guide for those who feel the pull towards something deeper. Because whether we speak of the archons, the Demiurge, or the divine spark, one truth remains. This knowledge was never meant to be lost. This is for anyone who senses there's more to this reality than we've been told, and who's ready to remember it. You'll find it in the link in the description below, or you can scan the QR code right here. I'll give you a moment to do that.
The text's response is brutal in its directness. If he has to say there is no other God, he already knows there is. His very proclamation of uniqueness reveals his ignorance of what lies above him. He is not evil in the way we usually think about evil. He's something far more dangerous. He's a being of enormous power who genuinely believes he is the ultimate reality and has built an entire universe to confirm that belief. I spent weeks going back through the Apocryphon of John after I covered the Demiurge's nature in my video, The Secret the Demiurge Fears Most, the Ancient Method to Refuse Rebirth. And what kept striking me was how systematically every layer of this cosmos is designed not to reveal the monad, but to conceal it. Every layer you move through material world, soul, prison, archon, boundary, functions as another wall between you and what you actually are. And that raises the most important question of all. What are you, exactly, inside this system? We need to go there next. Here's what the Gnostics knew that almost no other tradition dared to say directly. You are not a creation of the Demiurge, not in your deepest essence. The Demiurge built the physical body. The Archons, the cosmic administrators who enforce this system, the subject of a lot of your questions after my last several videos, shaped the psychological layers of the human being, instinct, emotion, the grinding machinery of fear and desire. But buried inside all of that, the Gnostic texts identify something the Demiurge did not place there and cannot reach: the divine spark, the pneuma, a fragment of the original Pleroma, of the true fullness, embedded into human beings not by the Demiurge, but by Sophia's act of reaching, and later, by the intervention of the higher aeons themselves. In the Apocryphon of John, the story is specific. The Archons create Adam from matter, heavy, inert, lifeless. He cannot rise, he cannot move. And then, the true God, the monad, breathes something into him that the Archons cannot understand and do not control. That breath is the spark, and the moment it enters, the Archons panic, because now their creature contains something greater than them. Here's what blew my mind when I first sat with this text properly, and I mean really sat with it, not just reading summaries, but going line by line through the Coptic translation for 3 full evenings. The Archons' response to the spark is not to destroy Adam. They can't. Instead, they trap him. They place him in the material world, surround him with pleasure and comfort and biological need, and they engineer forgetting. The very architecture of the physical life, hunger, desire, the weight of the body, the noise of the mind functions as a veil. Not punishment, veil. The Gospel of Philip makes this explicit with a word that cuts right to the bone. They didn't chain the soul, they blinded it, because a chained prisoner knows they're a prisoner. A blind one doesn't. After my video on the secret Gospel of Thomas, the real reason you keep reincarnating, a viewer named Kareem left a comment that stuck with me ever since. He wrote, "What gets me is that the prison doesn't have bars. It has distractions." That is, I have to say, one of the most precise descriptions of the Gnostic anthropology I've seen in a comment section. That's exactly it. The Archons don't need to chain what can't remember it's free. And the mechanism of reincarnation slots directly into this system. The Gnostic text, the Pistis Sophia especially, that extraordinary 5-part document, described the soul at death being received by the Archons at a series of checkpoints. Each checkpoint is a boundary sphere corresponding to a planetary realm. And at each one, the soul is interrogated, evaluated, and either permitted passage toward the Pleroma or turned back, sent again into a new body, with its memories wiped and its spark buried a little deeper under a fresh layer of forgetting. This isn't karma, this isn't growth. This is a recycling system designed to keep the divine spark in perpetual service to a cosmos that couldn't function without it, because the Demiurge's creation has no life of its own. It runs on the borrowed light of the very souls it imprisons. I personally think this is the most underrated part of the entire Gnostic system. Not the cosmic drama at the top, not the Demiurge's bombast, but this specific mechanical reality, that this world is literally powered by the spiritual energy of beings who don't know they're generating it.
Before we continue, some of what I've learned simply never makes it onto YouTube. That's why I started the Gnostic newsletter, a free newsletter where I go deeper into esoteric Gnostic teachings, hidden wisdom, and the mysteries we don't share in these videos. And when you sign up, you'll receive a Gnostic guide to mastering reality as a welcome gift, completely free. You'll find it through the link in the description below or by scanning the QR code on your screen. I'll give you a moment to do that.
But knowing you're trapped is not the same as knowing how to leave. And this is where the Gnostics go further than anyone. Now comes the moment that changes everything. Because the Gnostic system is not a tragedy. It only looks like one from inside the forgetting. From the perspective of what you actually are, this entire cosmos is something closer to a dream, and the knowledge the Gnostics transmitted was, in the most literal sense they could describe it, the means of waking up. That knowledge has a name: Gnosis. Not belief, not faith, not ritual compliance, or institutional membership. The Greek word means direct, experiential knowledge, the kind that doesn't pass through doctrine and doesn't require permission from any authority. Gnosis is what happens when the divine spark recognizes itself. Think about what that means for a moment. Every religious system built on the Demiurge's framework, and the Gnostics were explicit that this includes institutional Christianity, the temple systems of Judaism as they encountered it, the exoteric layers of every tradition that locates God outside and above the human being. Every one of those systems points you toward an external authority. Pray to this, obey that, submit here, earn your way upward through prescribed channels. Gnosis inverts the entire structure. The Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, and if you've seen my earlier videos, you'll know I keep returning to Thomas because it keeps returning to me, records Jesus saying something that no institutional church has ever been comfortable with. The kingdom of God is inside you and outside you. When you know yourselves, you will be known. Not when you're baptized, not when you confess, when you know yourselves. The Gnostic teachers figures, like Valentinus, who built arguably the most sophisticated theological system of the ancient world, and Basilides, who located the true God so far above the Demiurge that he described the source as literally not being. These were people who understood that Gnosis could not be institutionalized. The moment you create a hierarchy to dispense it, you've already handed control back to the Demiurge's principle. And this is exactly why they were destroyed. Not because their theology was incoherent. The church fathers who fought them spent enormous intellectual energy doing so precisely because it wasn't. Not because they were dangerous in any violent sense, but because a system that tells human beings they carry the divine within them, that no intermediary is required, that the God above the God of this world is already present at the center of awareness. That system is a direct existential threat to every institution that profits from standing between the human and the sacred. The councils burned the texts, the communities were disbanded, the teachers were driven into the desert, their names converted into heresies. Irenaeus of Lyon spent an entire multi-volume work called Against Heresies, trying to systematically dismantle Gnostic theology. And what's striking when you read it is how much of the Gnostic material he had to quote in order to refute it, which is how we know as much as we do. The suppressors preserved fragments of what they were trying to erase. Here's a detail that's almost funny when you think about it almost, except for what it cost the people involved. The Nag Hammadi texts, those 52 documents buried in a clay jar in the Egyptian desert around 390 CE, survived precisely because some monk or group of monks hid them when the institution came to collect and destroy them. The jar sat undisturbed in the earth for 15 centuries. When a farmer accidentally broke it open in 1945, what spilled out was the most complete surviving record of what the Gnostics actually believed in their own words, not their enemies' summaries. So what does Gnosis actually feel like when it arrives? The Gnostic texts describe it consistently in the same terms, not as information received, but as recognition. Like remembering something you always knew, but had been prevented from consciously accessing. The exegesis on the soul, one of the shorter but devastatingly precise Nag Hammadi texts, describes the soul's moment of recognition as turning from exile toward home, not acquiring something new, but recovering what was always essentially its own. Haven't you felt something like that? That quiet certainty, in a moment of unusual stillness, that you are something more than what you've been told you are. The Gnostics would say that's not wishful thinking. That's the spark, recognizing its own nature through the veil. I'm Daniel, and the story doesn't end here. It couldn't. Because once you understand that Gnosis is the mechanism of liberation, the question the Gnostic texts spend their most urgent pages answering is, what happens to the soul that achieves it? What waits beyond the Archon checkpoints, past the Demiurge's last boundary, beyond the outermost sphere of this constructed cosmos? I explored the geography of exactly that, the 13th Aeon, the region that waits past the Demiurge's last checkpoint in a dedicated video on this channel. Go watch that next. Because what the Gnostics described there will complete the picture that everything in this video has been building toward. This is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of knowing it fully.